Hello everyone and welcome to DCS World. On this particular video, this is going to be the video where I'll show my first PvP kill that I got. Actually, I got two PvP kills. Luckily after that, the first one, and I ended up getting a second kill as well. And in this particular video, I just want to show you that what are the tactics that are required and strategy as well. And of course, a bit of skill as well. So all three of them combined to see how we can get PvP kills on a PvP server in DCS World. So there's not a restricted content. I'm just gonna go with the flow where it comes to my mind, and I'll show you like what are the things that I did in order to get these skills. And during this session, I will just go through a few of the things within the MiG29. That's the plane that I use on DCS World. You do get it for I did get it for $9 during one of the discounts they had, but the original price was $18 on Steam. And so how DCS World works is that you get the DCS World for free, but if you want to fly one of the planes, one of the fighter jets, maybe an F-18 or MiG29 or Sukhoi 27, so you actually have to buy them. And then after you buy them, you get to download the particular module. Yeah, so the game is built on module itself. So you buy it, and then you can download it, and then you can use that plane for maybe single player camping or multiplayer related missions as such. So in this particular server, which is Growling Sidewinder, it is pretty famous, and I think this may be the only pure PvP based server. And so you have a max players up to 54 players, and I don't think there's proper team balancing on this. I've seen sometimes there's a incorrect team balancing, like 24 versus 15 players as such like that. So the party system over here is that you have the red coalition and then you have the blue coalition. Now this is not about just America versus Russia. This is more about a certain the base of it seems like it, but you can also have F-14s and F-16s on the red coalition side as well. But now coming to why did I pick a MiG29 is because it's cheap. I got it for $9, and the regular pricing is $18. So, but if I want to go for an F-18, it costs $100. Now you might be wondering, why the price different? One of the price different reasons is that because the cockpit that you see in front of me, of course, most of these indicators that you see are analog based, and they do go about what was happening. It is live data that you see on the analog controls, and but on the F-18 as well, it's also live data. But in the F-18, the cockpit that you see, what you can do is that you can actually interact. You can interact with the cockpit itself, and thus the detail and the thing that's just the design of the F-18 to get a completely interactable cockpit is more expensive in the process. So I think that's the reason why they have made the price up higher. I do want to get the F-18. Probably in the future I'll probably go for that, but currently I just want to try MiG29. It is a pretty decent plane. In the beginning, I had so much difficulty being in the MiG29 because this plane, though by on the news and all, that like MiG29 is a deadly adversary for an F-16 or F-18, but there are some drawbacks on the MiG29 when it comes to long range. Now MiG29 is designed for more about a sneak attack kind of plane. It is an interceptor class fighter where the payload is very less, as you can see over here on the on my MiG29, that I got only 6 missiles that I'm capable of carrying. So it's more of an interceptor. You just go and engage 1 or 2 planes at best, and then you return to base. But on an F-18 or F-16, it's a multi-role fighter planes where you can carry a much more load on it. So this particular video, as I said, I'm going to focus on the first PvP kill that I ever had. It did take a while for me to get used to it, probably 10 hours of learning about all these systems and the game physics about how it works and all that, because they have put a lot of realism into this game, especially with the radar systems the heat, the infrared radiations, and all the radiation that happens on a plane. How you track a plane, and how the missiles, once you fire, what exactly happens and all that. So all of that has been designed pretty well, and they've implemented pretty good. I think it's on the same level of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. So right now the graphics on my current settings, as I'm running a gaming laptop, so I can only push it to so much. So I'm running on the maximum resolution as my laptop, but the rest of the graphics I have reduced it as much as I can, so that at least everything's on low right now, and the only thing that is on high is the visible range. And the reason why I need to have a high visible range is when you play the game, and especially in PvP server, because you can only see, when I go to the map, as I can see my friendlies, but I cannot see the enemy, obviously, because it's a PvP, right? So you cannot see the enemies, so you have to plan your way and how to get your kills and all that. You have to use a lot of different techniques, and I'll go through that in the process about how I got my first PvP kill, and even the second one. Second one was a bit lucky, because it was more like point of no return. And during this first section of the video, this is the where I want to actually show you like the cockpit view, and this is completely in-game video. The second section of the video is I'm going to put in, if possible, I can put on a Tac View part of this same engagement that I had, because the Tac View gives, of course, as the word itself says, Tac View. It's tactical analysis view, where you can actually see what really happened from the enemy side and the friendly side, and there's more data that I can see in a different type of low-level graphics view. We'll come to that later on. But now back into this particular engagement of the PvP kills. So right now I'm in the cockpit, and usually I always use the cockpit view yourself. Nobody can actually use the third-person view, as you can see over here. It's good for cinematics. If you want to do some videos as such, it's good to see that where how you got how the enemy may have engaged you as such, like that. So right now I'm running the replay of this, and in the replay you can change the time division itself on this. So I'm running the thing at 1/64th of the time, just to start off and give an explanation about what's going on like that. So on this particular engagement, so as a MiG29, you're good only at close range, and at far range I've tried it and I always lose the battle, but at close range at least I have some advantage over here. The things that you got to do if you want to get a kills on a MiG29 is that you have to turn your radar off, because if you turn your radar on, as soon as your radar waves goes out and hits another plane, that plane will also detect it on their side, because their plane will also receive it, like, oh, I'm getting signals from this side, this particular direction, and that way the enemy target would just point towards the direction where your radio waves came in, and they'll just point it back in your direction. And if that enemy target has got or enemy plane has got better radar systems, then they will be able to track you faster. And then not only that, if for example, if I'm in a MiG29 and if I face an F-16 at BVR range, that's beyond visual range, and at that time, if I turn my radar on, and the F-16 also got his radar on, then the F-16 will be able to detect me faster than I'm able to detect him. And eventually what will happen is that as the F-16 has the long-range missiles like the AMRAAMs, the AIM-120C, they'll be able to lock onto me faster and launch the first missile and the first strike. But for me, I could only get some sensation of some radar waves coming from the F-16 on to my plane, but I will not exactly be able to see where, I'll get approximate location, but I will not be able to lock onto it. So I'll be able to lock onto it much later, but by the time the missile's already on the way, then I'll already have to take defensive actions and using countermeasures. So there are some drawbacks, but the pros of MiG29 is close range, and in this particular engagement, I try to use every type of skills that I learned over time after looking at some YouTube videos and some trial and errors. So in this particular engagement, I'll just give a quick idea from the map. So over here, this is the base area, the Lakini. That's where we launch in this particular server, and we go all the way into these mountainous region, and this is the enemy base here. They do have two bases here, Nalchik and Beslan, and they do have one more at Kutaisi. But for close range fighters, I would recommend you always go in this particular area because you got all the, you know, the hills and the mountains and all that. So you can use the mountainous environment terrain to your advantage. And so as MiG29, you turn off your radar so that you'll be more undetectable, and you only turn on the, as you can see, this EO that you see as you can see on the HUD. That is the electro-optics, and the electro-optics, what it does is that it has a capability of detecting infrared radiation, and if there's another enemy plane, maybe another MiG29 or maybe the F-16, the electro-optics will be able to detect it, but it's not as far as the radar, but at much more closer range, especially if the target is moving away from you, and then, you know, that particular fighter plane engages as afterburner, then that heat source will be so much that your electro-optics can track it. And that is how, you know, you can use the electro-optics method to engage your targets. Now the next thing, I'm not going to go into too much detail about, you know, all the other systems on the HUD and all the other things that you see on the rest of the part of the cockpit view. There are other YouTube videos that explain much better than I can do. But on this one, so this is the engagement mode, the electro-optics mode, so it can be less detectable on radar. And secondly, the most important thing is always to use the mountainous terrain so that the radar waves cannot detect you, or at least limit your ability to be detected, you know, by the enemy fighters. So on this particular area, I have reached very close to the enemy base, and I do see two friendlies here, the JF-17 and another F-16. And my engagement over here was, I had pulled all the way from, I did go from this way, and I turned around and I came back this way because I did detect an enemy target here that was at visual range. So how do I detect targets when you can't see on your, some of the electro-optics may not be able to detect the target, but the enemies, sometimes when you see at far range, you'll see a small black dot. We'll probably come to it later, part of this engagement, and as soon as you see a black dot on the screen, and you just have to, you'll put F10 here, which gives you the map, and then you can identify, is there a friendly over there or not? And if you see there's no friendly and a line of sight, then there's a high chance that is definitely an enemy plane right there. So that you can always switch to your engagement mode, and you can plan your action of attack over there. So in this case, let me just speed it up a little bit faster, and yeah, maybe faster. Yeah, so now, apart from trying to use a sneak attack method when you see an enemy far away, and trying to use the mountainous terrain and trying to flank the enemy, you also have to be equipped with the right kind of missiles. So on my particular plane, I use the as you can see, the two bigger missiles. The two bigger missiles are the R27 ETs. And ETs, the extended infrared range missiles, which have, I think, I'm not sure the approximate range, but it's 20 kilometers, I believe 20 to 25 kilometers. Once you with your electro-optics, if you can lock onto a target, then the R27 ET missiles, as you can see on my HUD, will be the one that I can fire immediately. But then anything closer to that, then I can use the R73 Archers, that you can see 4 of them. They're fired at much more close range, probably I think 10 kilometers and under 10 kilometers, but they're really good. They have, I think, a more, I think there's a higher rate of angle of attack for them, so they can still track the plane. Even if the enemy plane does do all these defensive measures, they would end up getting hit. They'll have to really put a lot of flares. Now the R27 is, as I said, is infrared. It does use the heat source of the enemy target, and the same thing goes for the R73 Archers as well. The heat source, they're infrared missiles. So yeah, so that is my setup on this. And right here, what I'm trying to do over here is, as I detect an enemy around this area, so what I want to do is from here, I want to go all the way here take a turn over here, and then hoping that the enemy would go in this direction, and then I can try to flank him as soon as I go low and I see him a little bit higher, and then I can just come back, sneak attack, and then chase right behind him, and as I'll be facing right at the 6 o'clock at the enemy target, then I can fire my infrared missiles at him. So that's the plan of attack, but during this video it didn't quite go according to that. As you know, we can only assume your tactics based on what you see, but during the battle things can change, everything can change, because these two guys start moving in towards the enemy. So I think the enemy already noticed these two guys on the radar or probably on visual range, so they would have probably changed the direction what they want to do. But if these two guys were in there, the enemy that I detected would have probably gone this way without realizing that I'm here. And because I'm staying pretty low, as you can see, I'm just above the trees, and usually for me maybe I'm 7th, though, as it's the mountainous terrain. So though on the bottom left, as you can see, is the altitude shows up as 7,000, but I'm still low in terms of the actual ground to the height level at the moment. So let me speed it up a bit more. Now I'm still at 1/4. Let me faster. And of course, the noise and the audio will be a little bit weird, as I'm still running half the speed. But let me increase it to normal speed.
248 for 230 at 3,000 flanking.
So this is my plan of attack, to go around here.
113 Dark Star 11 pop-up group 231 for 100.
Let me reduce the volume. Okay, this is much better. So you have the cockpit view, the cockpit audio signals telling me exactly what's happening, saying that I'm too low and blah blah blah. So I try to ignore that, but on the top left, as you can see, the AVAX is actually giving us an idea of any targets in the range. And I'll not go into detail with that, but whatever the AVAX that detects targets from its point of view, you can use that to your advantage as well. You can approximate targets where they could be here, because you cannot see them on your map, but you can get approximate view about where they could be. So as you can see over here, this guy is already engaging someone, probably the same target that I did. So now, here, what my plan is over here. Okay, it's getting a little bit too fast, so let me slow down. And let me reduce the volume, the voice. Yeah. Okay. Isn't. Okay, so over here, my first engagement was with an F-18, which this particular guy, the JF-17, engages. So here, the first thing what I gotta do is, as you can see that when I was looking into that area, I can see this black dot, and that, as you can see, and if you go in more slower, that this F-18 is here, and I got a lock on him, but then as you can see, the friendly one over here is a JF-17 trying to chase him out. And as soon as I got a lock, I think I did fire a missile, as you can see. So I fired 2 of the R-27 ETs, but as the target had gone down, so they hit the mountainous region. So these are some of the tactics that we have to use. If someone targets you and he's already launched a missile, so if your countermeasures are going to fail, try to use the mountainous terrain to your advantage and try to hide right behind. So the next step, what happens is I try to come around from this way to this way, and I look at the map left, and I can see the JF-17 is moved ahead. And at this time, what actually happens is that the F-18 has made a loop, and I can see him right here. See on the top right from your HUD, and I can see this one target right there, and he's going to try to fire his missile against the friendly target of mine. But by then, I just pull up, and I think he had a doubt that I would have been there. I'm not sure. But over here, this is the time where I lock onto my R73s. I'm at close range. It gets a little bit tough to control the plane because especially when you don't have enough speed. As you can see on the top left, I have 750 speed, so at low altitude and in trying to make all these moves, it is a bit hard to control the plane. And I'm switching to infrared and use this bore sight. And then I try to use vertical scanning, and I try to target him this way to hopefully, because in a higher angle of attack, using vertical scan makes it easier to target when you're trying to completely break. And then here I get a lock, LA, that's launch authorization, and a fire an R73. But here what happens again is I fire too soon, and as you can see the missile is going to hit the mountain again. So that goes off, and then come back again. I'm not sure what happened here again, that he's still there. I think he banks left because he might have probably noticed that there's a missile coming at him, but he missed. I fired my second missile, and as you can see, the R73 is tracking him pretty good. And as you can see, his plane is also showing up yellow because he's using afterburners. So I fired my second one as well. And now he's firing his shafts. And I'll still go in slow mode, and that's it. So I got the first kill. That was my first PvP kill. A guy named Fast Check or whatever. So yeah, get him off, and I was like, oh yeah, finally got my first ever kill on a PvP server. Because there's so many things that happen in the PvP server. Things get complicated, and you gotta do all of your tactics, strategy, and your skills flying low and doing all of this. So, but it would be good to go on voice comms and play together, because some other planes like this JF-17 has a really good radar range as compared to the MiG29. So if they can detect it, then they can communicate with me to tell me that, hey, I think if you go from this sideways and then try to flank it. So there are other ways that you can actually work together on this, but most of the people, I think I've noticed that there's not much of voice communication unless you're in probably a clan or something. So then I think there will be a better communication on the VoIP. But in this particular engagement, now after I was done with this, now the next thing is that as this is just an interceptor, I lost most of my missiles already, so I'm only left with only one missile left. So for me, the chance of success rate is just low here because I'm so far near to the enemy base. So I'm thinking that I can probably just return to base. But when I look at my fuel right now here, as you can see, the small white line over there and show that 12 kilometers left. So for me, I can't even return to base at this point. So it's a point of no return for me. So my thought was next year, let me probably in the last few minutes before I got. So I was thinking like, let me do another engagement if I can get someone else to target here. So if I see from the point of view from here, at this range, I do not see any black dot here. But at that point, what was running in my head was that, okay, since I'm close to enemy base, so there should be another plane, an enemy plane that would probably take off from here. And then I could just go a little bit, with my low fuel, I can just go full speed, hope to get a lock and fire, and then probably I know I'll die in the process. But that was the thought that went in my head over here. And I have only one missile left. And I thought, can I get a second kill or not? But that would be something. After getting a first kill, getting a second kill would be awesome. So I just thought, let me give it a shot. So let me just speed this thing a little bit faster. Now, what happened on this engagement was that as I was trying to just see if there's any more targets here, and it's good to have a head tracking IR system on this game, because then you can just put it on your head and you can turn around left and right and see what happened. Especially during dogfight, it is highly recommended. I'm yet to get one. It costs quite a lot. It costs like $140 for it. So on this way, when I play this game, I do have a joystick, and I use half my controls on the keyboard, and I also use the mouse as well to look around sometimes. But it can be pretty distracting when you're trying to look around, and if you don't see where your plane's going, so that you might end up crashing on the mountains. So it's a bit risky, but it is worth it if you can't see one dot, actually one black dot on the screen. and then you can just quickly go to F10, see if that's an enemy target or not, and then you can go ready for engagement, try to lock the person, and take the target out. So here, in this part, what I do is that I'm still using vertical scan here. As you can see, the two parallel lines. The advantage of vertical scan is that when I do banks, hard turns or banking like this, I can have a longer range of rather than the bore sight. But the bore sight, I have to target the person on that within that circle, the radar circle. I'm sorry, not radar, infrared circle. But on the vertical scan, it's not just what you see in the HUD, but it goes all the way to the top. I think there was on one of the videos, they said up to 60 degrees or something. 60 degrees above and 60 degrees below that's the scanning on it. So right over here, as you can see, I do see another target far over there, and I can see some flares going on. And then I noticed because I did see a black dot over there, and I saw him like going down. And there, as you can see, I'm trying to use the bore sight now because he's pretty low, and I'm not in the mountainous region where I have to bank too much, but I'm keeping a lock on that person. And then I used my bore sight this time, but since it was easy to lock. And what I did was that now I have no choice but to afterburn all the way, use all my fuel and max thrust, because I have only an R73, meaning I have only close range possibility over here. With R73 is probably 10 kilometers, so I need to get a launch authorization in order to take this target out. So at the same time, this F-16, he sees me too actually, when he's because I'm locking him, and he's like, okay, there's another target here, so he's going to try and lock at me. Because he just killed the other person, which was over here, the J-17. He died, and then for me, I was like, this is the best time for me to, lock onto the target unsuspectingly. But he also did, or she, based on the name, isn't Luna. So she detects it. She fires one missile at me, and I'm trying to use my shafts. But as you can see, the missile's coming in right here on the left-hand side. So we both shoot each other together, and so I ended up getting the kill on that person, but at the same time we both die. And yeah, it was really awesome engagement, this one. It's burned, and I was going to lose my fuel anyway. That would have crashed on the mountains, but might as well make it count, right? So yeah, so that is how my second PvP kill came in, just after my first ever PvP kill. So yeah, so this is how the game is. It is very interesting. It's a military simulation, and oh my god, what happened on the runway? Yeah, okay, so yeah, so that is the beauty of this game. The amount of realistic physics they've applied onto it, and the military simulation is just next level. So I would definitely recommend, if you're interested in a game like this, definitely download it, because DCS World is free on Steam. And you get a free plane, that's the Sukhoi 25. It's more of a ground attack vehicle, it's a ground attacking plane. So you give it a shot, get a joystick. You need a joystick for sure, and just get immersed into the simulation of this game. So, and yeah, so right now I'm just as I'm dead already. So you do have the ability to spawn again. And then in the meantime, you can also check other planes, other friendly planes that are there. As you can see on the map, there's so many other red, because I'm part of the Red Coalition right now. And as you can see, there's so many planes around here, and you can view these planes as they're friendly. You can't see enemy, of course, because then that'll be cheating. Because then you can plan and you can strategize and use your tactics completely to your advantage. But so it's a fair play. So you can only see your friendlies, and so these are all the F-16s on our side. So an F-16, what they normally do is their tactics are pretty simple. Not exactly simple, but simple enough. All they need to do is they have to be at a very high altitude. One of the reasons why is that their radar is pretty good. I think one of the best radars they ever have. And once they go really high up in the air at around 30,000 feet, then they can start using their radar, and as soon as they get a target, they can fire their long-range BVR missiles like the AMRAAM AIM-120C. And as the air is less denser at the top, so the missiles will go at a faster speed, and eventually they'll reach the target much faster. So that's the reason why they use this tactic. So for the Russian planes, usually they're more of close range engagement. So to avoid their F-16's radar lock, you hide around the mountains. You turn off your radar so that they cannot make it difficult for the F-16s to target you. So in this case, like this person, I guess he probably, as you can see, this is right over here. I can see another plane over there, but I'm really not sure whether this guy's friendly or enemy. So yeah, so that is the engagement, and I will switch, if I get time, I will switch to the tactical view to show you how the things happen. And the tactical view, you can actually see even the enemies as well. So you can see what was going on their heads and while they were about to engage. So there are a lot of things that go in an engagement. You gotta think about what the other enemy pilot is thinking, and you gotta plan it out like that. You can try to fool him, trying to think that going this direction, but your actual plan is to try to go in a totally the opposite direction and then try to sneak up upon him. So each plane has got its own type of tactics that you have to use. Because each plane has got its pros and cons, and it'll take some time. Each plane you play, it does take a while to get used to it, and then you have to you can strategize. And if you're playing as a group, even better. You can use, like, if you have F-16s in your squad, then might as well tell them to detect. They can probably be at the higher altitude, detect targets for you, and you can be moving ahead at low altitude and then sneak up upon the enemy. So yeah, here I'm going to conclude the in-game part of the video, and I'll try to switch on to tactical view if I get time. So yeah, thanks for watching, and do check out this game. It is one heck of a simulator, and I think it gives a an intense experience as well, immersion experience. So yeah, so thank you for watching, guys. Have a good day. So hello guys, so this is the tactical view of the same engagement that I had earlier on, where I had the first PVP kill and the second one followed by that. So using this tactical view, the advantage is that you get to see everything that's happening around the whole battlefield zone itself, like that, the whole map itself. If I kind of zoom out, and then you'll see that you can see everything from very high level strategic point of view. So this is the whole map where you see every single player from the blue coalition and the red coalition itself. So so this particular server, PvP server, that's Growling Sidewinder, they do, after every server restart, after the server session that they have, they will provide you the tactical view analysis, the file that you can download, and then it's a .acmi format, and then you can use the Tac View program to open it up, and then you can see exactly what happened during the engagement. This is good to use it for the analysis, to see that what really happened, what did the enemy did, and then how you can improve on. And sometimes you may need to find a better answer. The replay would give you some information, definitely. You can look at different friendly targets, but you may not see the enemy planes, about what they did and where they were and what tactics did they use. So I do use the trial mode right now, and which has the full features to see the whole map with all the data that can be provided into it. So in this particular tactical view session over here, I'm going to show the exact PP engagement that happened, and then you can see, well, what I try to do and what my tactics were, trying to, hide around the mountains and all that, and then try to engage the targets. So as in the previous video, from the in-game point of view, as you saw that in the beginning there were two fighter planes that were ahead of me, and I think that was the F-16 and I think it could be this person. I'm not sure whether it was this JF-17 or not, and I know there were two. So it should be these two fighters should show up later on. The part where I start the replay, the in-game part of it. So here you'll see exactly what I did. I was trying to, hide around this mountainous region, and it was this particular fighter plane, F-18 Falstack. He's the guy who I got the first PvP kill, and now we can go through it and we'll see exactly what happened from a tactical point of view. And but I did notice when I was going through this tactical view that he did get a couple of kills, because I think he took out one of our friendly fighters over here, which is I think the GF-17, I believe. And during this time, so it looks like this particular F-18 pilot, what he normally does is, I think he looks like he tries to guard around this area, so it's easy for him, because he knows that we always come all the way to this particular area for engagement. So he was looking out for any of us trying to engage into this particular zone here, and then we can try to pick us up during this process. But from our point of view is that we know there will be guys from Beslan, that's the base. Yeah, people will try to lift off from here. They'll try to move around this area. So during this time, that's where we try to make sure that we get an opportunity to engage by staying stealthy and then taking them out. So as you can see over here, the same guy, I think he took another guy out. After he took, this is I think his second kill. And as you can see, this guy, I don't know if he's going to survive or not, but it looks like I don't see any more red marks, so he's probably going to die with this aim 120. Yeah. He's probably, he went off, he's gone. So after that, I think there's some time before I get into an engagement. Let me speed it up a little bit faster so that we can get to the point where we had the PvP kills. Slow it down a little bit. Yeah, so that was me. I was trying to guard around this area to see if I could come across any enemy planes. And during this time, so I remember this person, GF-17. He was the guy who was actually, I think, this guy was trying to kill him, but he failed to do so. But then eventually I ended up taking Frostic out. So looks like these two guys were just trying to search for targets, and I think he kind of realized it, because I did notice he used flares at one point, and somebody may have targeted him, and so he tried to go another way around, and probably to hide and until he gets a better shot. So during this time, and I kind of saw these two guys on the map, so I tried to go towards them to see what they're up to, and I thought they may find someone over there. Maybe they had another person trying to knock them off. So, okay, so I do see some long-range missiles being fired at the F-16, and it was probably from this F-14 who disappeared off on the map. And now I'm going to go slowly, because I do see this JF-17 probably spotted the F-18, and thinking now he's going to try and attempt to take him out, but as for what we saw in the in-game video, that he doesn't get an opportunity to take him out. But by the time I come into the engagement, let me just click on this, and maybe I can zoom in. This is from my point of view, and this is what was going on earlier, as you saw in the in-game video, right? So there was some engagement going on between these two guys, and I was trying to identify, which is the enemy between them, and then once you confirm, and then you engage them. So so during this engagement, I think I'm going to go closer to his particular point of view from the GF-17. So it's like this particular Hornet had done a pretty good job of trying to evade by using his countermeasures. And this was the particular mountain, as I said, as soon as I got a lock on, I tried to fire at this F-18, but it went and hit the mountains. So the same thing happened with the GF-17. He tried to fire his PL missiles. I think they are, I'm not aware of those, but they are close-range missiles, heat seeker ones. So tried to take him out, but it looks like the F-18 did some really good maneuvers here to try and take and to do a very defensive maneuver, and same time he tried to do that loop, and that's what we saw during that engagement. So this is the part where I remember where I did see that the two dots that I saw on my screen, they were moving around, and I was trying to identify who's the enemy over here, because I know there's one of them is friendly when I see on the F10 map. And then this is where I observed that, because I did get a target lock on him, and I did see that. And after my target lock, I fired 2 missiles. One did try to track him, but it hit the mountain. The second one looks like, though I aimed at this F-18, it was trying to target the friendly because it's a heat seeker missile, right? So sometimes they will go for the nearest heat source. And in this case, luckily he was well below the mountain, and he avoided that. So as soon as I think he realized that he was getting target locked, so I think he tried to bug out to get a more defensive, or try to hide, on the mountains on this side from the slope. But by the time I kind of noticed this guy was right above me, and I tried to target him again. I think here's the part where I fired an R-73 missile, and I think I missed the first R-73 close range heat seeker missile, and then I think I fired the second and the third. Those hit him actually. So from this point of view, for the F-18, he's still trying to look out for the JSF-17, trying to see if he can try and get the a good lock on this guy. And I tried my best to reach in time before he could fire this, as I said in the video. So as you can see that I managed to get a lock, and the same thing that you see in the video from what was actually going on. And I fired the missiles, and at the same time, I'm not sure whether he knew it, because I didn't see he use his flares in this case because it's a heat seeker, but he fires another Sidewinder missile at the JF-17. But by then my missiles hit him and I took him out. So this is what happened from a tactical point of view. This is how you can see the whole engagement, what really happened. And it looks like my first R-73 itself took him out, and this one, I think this guy survived the engagement. Luckily the missile just went and hit the mountain, so he survived that. And yeah, so that is exactly what happened in my first PvP kill. Let me speed it up right now. And then you know what happens next, right? So I was thinking whether to return to base, but no fuel. And then I realized that might as well, instead of crashing in the mountains, I would try and engage again. Try to see if I can have, because I still had one more R-73 missile left, so I thought I'll give it a shot and try to see if I can get another person. So during this engagement, after I made the turn, I did see another dot over here, and I tried to engage this person, and poor JF-17 gets locked again with the long-range BVR missile. And it looks like he fired the SD-10, which is also another BVR missile, against Luna. He fired the second one here, but I think the AMRAAM took him off. I think he doesn't make it, yeah. He disappears off, yep, he dies, and his missiles don't track. But because he couldn't track her, so it was my luck to try and engage Luna at that time. So this, from my point of view, I can add, as you saw in the in-game view, that I zoomed in, and I was trying to get there as soon as possible. You can see that 1.112, so I was like going really fast because I know it's an F-16. She can fire the missile faster than me if he gets a radar lock, but I zoomed in as fast as possible. I mean, it's burned in so that I can fire the R-73, and that is how, as you can see, that I got the lock fired, and at the same time she fired the same. I didn't do too many defensive maneuvers over there because I thought, like, I'm so close to the enemy base, I was gonna die either way. So I was just waiting to see. I just wanted to see, when the plane exploded on the enemy. Yeah. So yeah, so that is how this engagement happened. And using the Tac View, you can see the whole map and every other plane, what they're up to, and to get all the data, what kind of missiles they fired, what altitude, what speed, and from which part of the, part of the map they were trying to come all the way from, and we can just understand, what their tactics and all that. So Tac View is a very good program to get an idea about what's going on during a battle. So yeah, so do try to get the Tac View as well. You get a demo version of it, you get the full features, and then after that, after 21 days, after 21 days, the trial, then I think you'll go to the free mode, but I'm not sure what amount of data is available for it. And you do have two versions of the tactile view. I think one is just the standard version, and then you have the professional version, which is the advanced version, where you would get the same view as I can see right now. But in the standard version, I'd probably Google it out and see what kind of data is available. But I would probably get the professional version. I want to save a little bit of money. Probably get the professional version. I think it costs around $100. Yeah, but it is so good to see everything in one go. And I think it's a fun tool to see what's going on. It can go forward and backward during engagements as such. So it'll help you develop better strategy and develop new tactics in the process by looking at the map and all the engagements that happen during this process. Yeah. So this here over here, I'm just going to conclude the video with my first PvP kill, and thank you for watching, and you guys stay safe.